All right. So today we're going to be reacting to Age of Ultron, Age Like Wine. Now, Age of Ultron is really one of my favorite Marvel movies overall. I think it was really slept on initially, but it got better. Like it aged like wine, kind of like the title says. So we're gonna lock in, bro. I love Ultron. Ultron is one of the best villains outside of Thanos. Thanos was a demon. So let's lock in.
Age of Ultron seems to be one of those movies that ages like wine. The more time passes, the more its good qualities start to show themselves. Almost 11 years ago, I stepped into theaters to watch a film I'd been waiting for since 2012, shaking with anticipation, and 2 hours later, I distinctly recall walking out of that theater thinking that it was kind of underwhelming. The thing is, upon retrospect, I can tell you that this really doesn't feel like the same film I watched in theaters years ago. And to be honest, there's an almost unbelievable amount of stuff that I missed the first time I watched this film. Not only does this movie contain one of the most efficient, well planned out, and genius character introductions in the entire MCU, just the amount of breadcrumbs they left to tease at what's to come is insane.
How are you guys planning on beating them?
Together. We'll lose, and we'll do that together too.
How the Avengers eventually lose in Infinity War.
I said we'd lose. You said we'll do that together.
And the thing about Ultron, Age of Ultron, the movie, is that for the first time we actually seen that there were consequences for the things that the Avengers were doing. A lot of times they did a whole bunch of crazy shit, and we never really saw the consequences. Like cities were being destroyed, collateral damage, people were dying. The Sokovia incident. There's so much going on that Ultron kind of brings that peak, and it's really the mechanism that kind of starts everything, right? That kind of starts the split between the Avengers. I understand why people did not like the movie initially, and I'm not mad at that. I'm not mad at that at all. But once you really watch it and you just, bruh, this movie was so fire. Age of Ultron, the voice actor who voiced Ultron, he did a great job. A great job. What am I doing?
You too. Guess what, Cap? We lost.
Or how this one line of dialogue actually teases a major plot point in Civil War, where Tony finds out his parents were assassinated by Bucky.
Did you know?
And even how Tony is the one who will save the Avengers and the universe in Endgame.
You could have saved us.
The character development he had in this movie is one of the main factors that led him to sacrifice himself.
Watch my friends die. You'd think that'd be as bad as it gets, right? Wasn't the worst part. The worst part is that you didn't.
Age of Ultron was an incredibly vital piece of the Infinity Saga's plotline, and for anyone who is watching this video that doesn't like Age of Ultron and isn't convinced, I think a lot of the depth I discovered here will change your mind, because by the end of this video, it might feel like a different movie to you as well. So today I'll be going over my favorite details, and of course these two scenes in particular because they're just done so damn well. And also I like some of its humor.
No surrender!
I'm going to surrender.
But okay, before I get distracted, let's start with how Vision was introduced, because this is a masterclass in bringing in a new character this suddenly. Keep in mind, at this point in the movie, our heroes are about to embark on their final...
Let's not forget, Vision has always been dumb OP. I think Age of Ultron might have been the most OP-ish we've seen him, but he's super OP.
battle. We're approaching the climax of the film, and this is simply not the right time to bring in a character most people watching this movie have never even heard of before. Now, everyone points to the hammer scene as the thing that made Vision's introduction work, and while this scene was vital, it's simply the final step. Why I like Vision's character introduction so much is because it's more like an evolution rather than introducing someone completely new.
Why does your vision sound like Jarvis?
We reconfigured Jarvis's matrix to create something new.
Vision is made from Jarvis, and Jarvis has been here since the first Iron Man movie, but at the same time, we never really thought or treated him as an individual character, since he just plays the part of an AI assistant.
Wake up, Daddy's home.
Welcome home, sir.
Jarvis is more like something that's complementary to Iron Man's character, rather than being his own separate thing.
Jarvis, any turn now?
It's only in Age of Ultron that we start to separate Iron Man and Jarvis, as well as treat him as more of an individual.
He also said he killed somebody.
There wasn't anyone else in the building.
I will say though, Jarvis always had a distinct personality. You could say that Tony just programmed him that way, but he always had a personality, I think. I don't know.
There was.
Constantly acknowledging his presence and putting him in the spotlight, and especially giving him a larger role in the story.
The guy protecting the military's nuclear codes? I found him.
Hello, Dr. Banner.
But even then, this character is overwhelming. Like, by itself, Vision as a character is just pure insanity. Think about it. If you look at Vision's creation independently and out of context, it's probably the most unbelievable thing you've ever heard. A living metal robot constructed out of a rare super material with a stone which holds infinite power is being built by another super intelligent AI, which also was made with the help of that same stone, which originated from a scepter from a Norse god, and now that super intelligent AI is trying to erase all life on Earth by lifting an entire city into the sky and crashing it back down like the asteroid which wiped out the dinosaurs, because that's the type of personality he has.
I think a lot about meteors, the purity of them.
You can see how this all sounds like something a crackhead would say at a gas station somewhere. So this is where clever writing has to come in. A trick Marvel loves to use due to its crazy, super powerful universe is to introduce new concepts or characters to us while utilizing things we're already familiar with as a foundation, making the introductory process much smoother and more acceptable or believable. With Vision, the Mind Stone comes from Loki's scepter, which we've already seen used time and time again through multiple films and also throughout Age of Ultron. The tech used to build him was also shown towards the beginning and explained as it healed Hawkeye.
She is creating tissue.
And of course, we already know the capabilities of vibranium through the countless times it's shown up in previous movies, as well as, of course, the beginning of this one. Because of the way this crazy superhero universe is written, all this insane information is understood and works without issue. At this point, the MCU was like a skyscraper, being built and renovated one floor and one step at a time, rather than all at once. The problem now is, how do we trust him? This is a ridiculously powerful being who holds a Mind Stone, and he could probably beat up Thor right then and there. And as of this moment, we don't even know what his intentions are. So how do we know he's not another Ultron, the result of a very similar experiment from Tony and Banner?
I'm caught in a time loop. This is exactly where it all went wrong.
I know.
So once again, we see that same fundamental concept at play. Vision's introduction first leverages our trust in Thor and Jarvis. The Avengers are fighting each other over their disagreement. Nobody trusts the other side to make the right decision. Everyone thinks they're the one who's right and the others might accidentally doom humanity. Then suddenly, Thor jumps in and immediately all eyes and everyone's attention is on him. A literal god came in, broke up the argument, and chose that Vision must be created.
You helped create this? I've had a vision.
Using Thor to put a bit of credibility onto Vision's character was a smart move. It got the audience ever so slightly on Vision's side.
Unparalleled in its destructive capabilities.
Then why would you bring
Stark is right.
But that by itself isn't enough. Not for us and not for the Avengers. Because although we do want to trust this character since he's so unique and interesting, we still haven't been given a good enough reason to do so. We're teetering on this side of the fence, but we still need one last push in order to fully accept this character. And that is where this scene comes in. This scene that we so innocently watch thinking it's just here for some great comedy and humor that cemented this as one of my favorite introductions so far. They played the game of who's worthy.
Whosoever be he worthy shall have the power.
Whatever, man, it's a trick.
Please be my guest.
Every single Avenger, all characters we know, love, and trust, tried and failed to lift the hammer, except Cap, of course. And then comes the Vision scene. The atmosphere is tense, nobody knows what to do, and everyone thinks this could end quite badly. And then It's pretty much perfectly executed. This one move makes us trust Vision, is the payoff for a bunch of previous scenes, plot lines, and character development, and serves as a way to transition the mood from this tense, unforgiving atmosphere back to what we're normally used to.
Iron Man's what he's waiting for.
That's true. He hates you the most.
Now the movie can progress past this internal conflict between the Avengers and return to the main antagonist, which is Ultron.
You know, with the benefit of hindsight.
And you'll see this same recipe of a step-by-step building process throughout many other parts of this movie, a process which always seems to hit 2 or even 3 birds with one stone. Take Hawkeye's recovery scene for example. This scene doesn't just serve to introduce us to the tech that will be used to build Vision later in the movie,
Your own girlfriend won't be able to tell the difference.
Well, I have a girlfriend.
That I can't fix.
but also puts the idea of Hawkeye's romantic life in our head, an idea we were probably reminded of quite a few times after we saw what was happening between Natasha and Banner.
It's nice.
What is?
You and Romanoff.
Then, later in the movie, once again, another teaser.
Who's that? Girlfriend.
It makes this sudden introduction to Hawkeye's family a bit easier to accept, since it's already planted the idea of it in our heads.
I can feel the difference.
And of course, this also serves as a payoff to those who manage to piece this puzzle together.
That was a good time because we're still a few hours out.
A few hours from where?
Safe house.
And yet another scene worth mentioning comes not long after this one, and that's the log chopping scene. This scene teases some pretty major plot lines, one of them being, of course, how Tony's parents died because of Bucky.
I don't trust a guy without a dark side. Well, let's just say you haven't seen it yet.
And some neat little details to point out here are, for example, the axes they use. Each represents the characters using them pretty well. Steve uses a simpler, more traditional wooden axe, while Tony uses a modern one. These axes very much symbolize their respective personalities. Steve likes to keep things simple. He could have all these extra fancy gadgets that Tony or his dad had built him, but instead, he tends to choose something basic, like a shield, and uses strength, wit, and willpower to compensate.
I can do this all day.
Cap will put his own life in danger without hesitation, and is not willing to let anyone else sacrifice something for him, even if it means he'll take the fall.
I'm not leaving this rock with one civilian on it.
And so, quite fittingly, he has the axe which is more reliant on its owner and their own strength or skill to split the logs effectively. He is what makes the axe and the shield effective. Tony, on the other hand, has a modern axe with more advanced materials and design. Unlike Steve, Tony doesn't have any powers, of course, nor is he a fighter. He also isn't the type of person to jump on a grenade, at least not at this point in the MCU.
You're not the guy to make the sacrifice play.
So he uses his intellect to create weapons and tech to compensate. Tony believes that with the right planning and the right tools, you can get the job done without needing to sacrifice.
To lay down on a wire and let the other guy crawl over you?
I think I would just cut the wire.
And so he uses the axe, which, like his tech, compensates for his lack of abilities and also requires less technique and strength to use, as it was designed that way. And like Tony and his armor, while the axe can't be made without modern technology, it doesn't rely on its owner to make it extremely effective.
I see a suit of armor around the world.
And this is the type of detail I really appreciate in this movie. This other line of dialogue, for example, is also really well done.
Right, so we get to go home?
This short clip is often just treated as a show of strength, but really it goes much deeper. We know that earlier in the film, Wanda gave Cap a vision of what he lost, the home he grew up in, the people he knew, the time he was familiar with, and of course, his dance. So when Tony brings up how they want to end the fight so everyone can go home,
Isn't that the why we fight? So we can end the fight? So we get to go home?
a flicker of anger and sadness immediately washes over Cap, as he literally can't go home. And you can see on his face that Cap wanted to say something here, but rather he chooses not to pointlessly argue with his emotions. So, being the good man he is and doing something in line with his character, he chooses to put his own feelings aside and continue the conversation with some wisdom.
Every time someone tries to win a war before it starts, innocent people die. Every time.
And, of course, as expected, this tiny detail of how Cap misses home was not only teased earlier in the film at the party,
Well, home is home, you know?
but also has a payoff at the end of the movie for those who noticed it.
You all right?
I'm home.
And finally, towards the end of the scene, we find ourselves in the same predicament as we had in Vision's introduction. Once again, there's this incredibly tense atmosphere where two Avengers are in disagreement. So, to lighten the mood as well as move on to the next scene with Nick Fury waiting in the barn, we have some humor to end it off and transition to the next part of the story.
Don't take from my pile.
This is the kind of depth I enjoy seeing in films. The kind that doesn't force you to understand it in order to enjoy the movie, but if you do, it just makes the whole experience that much better. From little details I can't ever forget, to hints for the future and even how some of these characters' stories will end.
Maybe I should take a page out of Barton's book. Build Pepper a farm, hope nobody blows it up.
And especially knowing what we know now, after experiencing the Infinity Saga in full, looking back into the past and seeing all of this come together makes you realize that this era of Marvel which we had was truly special.
So hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. I'm going to end it here. Make sure you guys jump in the comments below. How do you guys feel about Age of Ultron in its entirety? Did you guys like it on the first go around when you watched it? Or did you have to watch it a couple more times to actually understand it and enjoy it? But anyway, lock in. It's your boy KIDSTATIIC like always, and I'm out. Peace.